it's Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. And today we're going to talk about what holds us back from that pathway of success. So if you go to previous videos, you'll learn about definition of success, what it is, what it isn't, what the pathway of success is. But so often we find ourselves in this negative cycle, and it's just preventing us from taking those purpose-driven steps forward. And so it's important to know how to get to success, but it's also important to know and be aware when we're not actually connected to our success, and we're not connected with our internal self, our own values, our own beliefs. And instead we're kind of connecting to these external validators, which is a black hole. You will never feel. It's a dichotomous statement. I do not like to use them, so I become mindful and say, that's a dichotomous statement. Am I being anxious? But it is a truth. Yes, it is anxious, because when we are in a negative cycle, we are in an anxious place. And so we use dichotomies. So when we connect with external things outside of ourselves, outside of our beliefs, outside our values, then we are in an anxious dichotomous state. So it isn't all or nothing, but it is a truth. And every once in a while, those truths really are there. We have these feedback loops that connect us into a negative or positive cycle. So let's look at the pathway that holds us back. So as we looked at before, if you are in the doorway, all of your past is coming in, kind of feeding you and taking over your present. It's really preventing you from going through the doorway. And if you go through the doorway, you find that you have wisdom and you have success. But if you're not able to get through that doorway, and the door feels like it is chained and locked, and there's like a gargoyle or some mean dogs like protecting it, and you feel like doors are getting closed to you, then let's look at the pathway that may be feeling like you have doors that are closed. You may be the one who is closing those doors. So if we start with, we'll go backwards and then go forward. So if we start with our values and beliefs, if we are not aligned with our values and our beliefs, then things are going to feel very shut off to us because we're not connecting with ourselves. We're trying to go outward and not inward. And that will immediately create a dissonance. That's us occupying two spaces. And dissonance means anxiety. There's going to be this lightning bolt of energy, which is anxiety. And when we have that, then we usually build a narrative to help justify us from being outside of our values and our beliefs. And so that narrative is what we call the negative narrative. Tons of videos, so go back through my library and find things about the negative narrative, the cognitive distortions, all of those, the bad brain, all of that is the negative narrative. It's justifying us. It's giving us invalid data points to justify our pain, suffering, and despair. And I talk a lot about the river of life. And on the river of life, we can't control the currents and we can't control the weather, but we can control if we're in the boat and what bank we get off on. And when we're in this anxious, externalized state, we're paddling really quickly to get on that bank of suffering and despair. We think this is the way to go, and we can't see out of that. And it's a cognitive distortion, so there's no shame in the game. Shame and guilt will hold you into that negative narrative. It will hold you into your traumas and your grief. So there's no shame in the game. It's what our brain will naturally do because it wants to survive. It just sees that that is the closest bank. And it goes there, but if you stand up, if you ground, if you are present, there's a lot of options. You can stay in the boat, you can go to the bank of value, growth, and strength building. And so we get stuck in these narratives that all there is suffering and despair. We get stuck in these narratives that the values, these externalized validations is all that we have. And that goes to the next piece, which is as we are seeking the external, then we avoid the internal. And avoiding the internal means that we avoid the sense of vulnerability. We don't share things with others. We don't share things with ourselves. The more that we can be avoidant, remember, distressing feelings and beliefs and thoughts go to avoidance. Short-term relief, long-term anxiety or distress gain, long-term devaluing of ourselves, or implicit devaluing ourselves. We are lowering our capacity to feel like we can do something, and we're lowering our motivation to do better. So all of that is that negative cycle that feeds into the negative narrative, which prevents us from being honest and truthful and vulnerable. And the truth feedback loop is so real. When you don't trust yourself, you do not disclose to yourself. You keep hidden that truth. And when you keep hidden that truth and you don't trust, and when you hide that truth from somebody else because you didn't want to deal with it yourself, then now they don't trust you either. And now because they don't trust you, now they're withholding from you. And because they're holding from you, you don't trust them. So trust feedback loop is a really strong thing, and why they say the truth will set you free is because when we withhold, when we are not vulnerable with ourselves and we are not able to be vulnerable and accountable with others, then that truth feedback loop really starts to get negative really quick, and you can see how fast it compounds and how difficult it is to build relationships and have meaningful connections, which is a very important, it's one of the pillars of success. You need that. So without it, you're really losing a lot. And that goes back to reinforcing this need for external validation. We're looking for all the likes. We're looking to be able to be the most popular, to be the most valued, to have the greatest productivity. We want to be on the top. We want to be perfect. And we're not. It's not real. Perfectionism is not real in human beings. And so the external validators just suck us dry because we're constantly needing more. You get 1,000 likes here, you get 1 million followers, and then all you want is 1 million more. It never is satiating. It's just, what is the next? What can I get next? And that comes down to this objectivity in our view and our perception, because we're not internalized, we're not connecting to our values and our beliefs. We have this objectivity. We kind of create these truths and these check boxes for ourselves, and we become very, very rigid. So we say, like, to be, perfect, I must do X, Y, and Z. And to be successful, I must do, 1, 2, 3, and I have to do this. And we become very closed-minded and very objective with what it is that how we interact with life. We're really cutting out a lot, and we're encapsulating ourselves. And so as we walk to the pathway of despair and suffering, holding us back from success, as we find ourselves on these pathways that really lead us to nowhere and create these blockages that only reinforce our frustration and really validating our brokenness, we see that we kind of create this encapsulation. We really enclose ourselves to these specific things are what we must do, and we let go of all the opportunities, all the shades of gray that are out there. We externalize. We look for outside factors to come to us and to validate us. We ignore our internal, we ignore ourselves, we ignore being vulnerable with ourselves and being truthful with ourselves, which then leads to us ignoring and not being truthful and open and humble with others. And then again, they also push back on us. We reinforce. These are cognitive distortions. These are invalid data points. We're like, see, it's not like I was supposed to have friends. I mean, look at how distant they are. Like, they're not trying to engage me, so why should I engage them? That is a cognitive distortion. That's your negative narrative saying you don't deserve this because of your past. You are the value of the people who interact with around you. You are the value of your past, and you're not. Every day is a present. And that's why it's the present. Every day is an opportunity to achieve what your value is. It has nothing to do with the interactions with other people. And so we start building and connecting to these negative narratives because of all of these cognitive distortions, because of this closed, internalized thinking, that we really move away from what our values and beliefs are, and we don't live for our values and beliefs. We live for these perceived expectations of what our values and beliefs should be and what we should be going for. And we really aren't connected to what a value and a belief is. We have these external ideas of what we think is a value and belief and what we think we should be going for, even though it's really not connected to us. And then that leads us to the chains. So this is a big one, and it's a lot to digest. I highly recommend going to the Pathways of Success to understanding the steps that you can take to open those doors, to get through those doorways, to find and live a life of truth and meaning. I am Jennifer Evans. If you like this, please subscribe and share with others who may be struggling as well. As humans, we are all struggling, and we need this awareness so that we can have acceptance and we can find the skills to take action. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hi, it's Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness. I hope you like this video. And if you do, please go and like, share, and comment below. I am really passionate about, helping people live a happier and healthier life. And I really do believe that our mind is the secret, the way in which we can get into a better place. If we can just understand, be present, and understand what our mind is doing. There's no judgment, there's no shame. The mind is just acting like an organ and trying to find survival. So I do appreciate your time watching my videos. I do hope that you will subscribe to my page, get some exclusive content. Go to my website, Counseling Wellness Solutions, to look at all of the variety of things that I have to offer. I really like the idea of being able to offer a variety of supports, from these free videos to newsletters to subscriptions where you get monthly challenges and accountability partners and learn a lot more about what your brain is doing and why you act and react and why people act and react the way that they do. I have self-help books. I've got a workbook coming out later this month, or actually next month in September, that I hope that you'll enjoy, that will walk you through and build a framework to happiness and success. I've got groups, success groups. One's kicking off on September 9th, and we're going to go through 9 weeks of living a life worth living. Next 9 weeks will be the emotional reasoning, and the third 9 weeks will be interpersonal skills. How do we negotiate our value? How do we ask for more money? How do we ask to be in a better place? And how do we lean on people to get that? And then I have my individual therapy and coaching. So if you're wanting a more specific support, I'm here for that as well. So as well as my boutique retreats where it's just 3 people, me, you, and 2 others, looking at how we build this sense of accountability, how we really interject in our lives, what is causing us despair, and how do we break through it in an intensive 3-day retreat. So go and like my page, put some comments down, start that accountability, look at my website. Thank you so much for supporting me. I look forward to helping you in any way that I can. Thank you so much.